Welcome to Ask When, everyone. Today with me I have Daphna, and I'm going to let Miss Daphna take it away and share more about what she does.
Thank you, Wynn. Wonderful to be here. So I'm happy to share that I am a CEO coach, which means that I actually work with first-time CEOs on building their leadership skills. So when you start a business or you even get promoted to that very senior position because you're so good, you're an expert at what you do, you're a real top performer, you understand that there are other skills that you then need to learn in order to be that leader, and not only lead in terms of your subject matter expertise, but also lead your business and your people and yourself. And that's where I come in, and I really help CEOs, first-time CEOs, take that big step into leadership. And I want to add that I come from a background of being an expert, so I understand what it's like and what that mindset shift is all about, because I'm an actuary from before in my past career. So for me, it was really important to make sure that these people who are top performers, super smart individuals, really know what's required in order to step into a leadership role and master it. So that's what I do today.
Now, what made you kick the bucket on corporate career, release golden chains, and transform into a fabulous CEO coach?
That's such a good question. So I think, firstly, it was a journey that took years because there was something inside me that kept on asking the questions around what does it mean to be a leader in the corporate environment? And when I was in corporate, it was nearly 20 years ago, there was very little awareness of leadership and kind of authenticity and leading people and how important it is to develop people, and EQ, emotional intelligence, was just being started to be spoken about. And for me, there was always this gap between what people did and how well they performed and the results that they got, and who they were as people and how they were leading their people. And I was curious about that. So it was a process of years to actually understand, well, how do we bridge that gap, and can you really make a career out of it? And then I'm married, I've got 3 beautiful children, and when my 3rd child was born, I had a health crisis that kind of took me into this place of asking myself, what do I really want to do? Do I want to stay in this corporate life and, quite a challenging environment, but also really good from many points of view, or do I want to do something more meaningful? And that's when I began my search and my journey into finding a career that will actually develop people into the leaders that they can be.
Well, isn't that wonderful? And I have another question for you. If your BFF had to write a book about you, what would the title be?
What would the title be? So I think we are now living in such strange times that, have turned our whole world upside down and really are calling forth some of our greatest qualities of resilience and creativity. So I would hope that my BFF would say something like, I wrote a book, actually. I wrote a book called Courage to Lead. That's my first book. And my second book is coming out soon, and it's called Weekly Habits for Extraordinary Leaders. So for me, it's about courage and it's about being extraordinary. And I would say the book title will have to be something like that, The Courage to Be Extraordinary, or something like that, Courage to Lead. I love that title. It actually resonated with me as well. So I'm gonna stick with that.
Courage to Lead. Wow. That's one for the books. Mm-hmm. And so if you had a favorite book, what is the title?
So I am an obsessive reader. I read and read and read and read, and I've got my favorite book changes depending on what book I've recently read. So I would have to, there's so many, and it's really, really tough to choose. But the one that sticks out for me right now is the one called Factfulness by Hans Rosling. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it really is, it brings together the world of numbers and statistics and all that. And that's the world that I come from, with the world of making sense of the numbers and looking for data and patterns and not getting to panic. It's so relevant for today's times, not getting to a panic and anxiety situation because you're looking at numbers and not understanding them well. So look at the bigger picture, connect the dots, look for trends, ask the questions, get curious. And that book is really all about that. We think we know, but we actually don't.
Well, yeah, look at the bigger picture and connect the dots. If you're stuck in the day job, start connecting the dots on what you can do versus what you can't do. What is your God-given talent? And then progressively get out of that day job. And so, yeah, look at the bigger picture. Now,
exactly. And connect it with purpose as well. So I think sometimes you've got to look at the bigger picture in terms of the future and where you want to go. And then you've got to look deep inside and say, why am I here? What's going to light my kind of inner fire? What's going to get me excited and enthusiastic? And connect that as well to
exactly. And so if you had to move and only take 5 things with you, what would they be?
So where was I moving to? Was I moving to just another country or just a house, moving to another house? Where am I moving to?
Just moving in general.
Okay. And I'm only allowed 5 things.
Yep.
Well, I have got 5 people in my family. It would have to be them, right?
Yeah, it would have to be them. I knew you would go say that. Yes, and people, when I ask that question, people ask me all the time, does my family count? And I say, of course they do. Of course they do.
Of course they do.
So, yeah, of course they do. So it's so interesting that you would take just your family.
Yep, I wouldn't. That would be the first thing. And in fact, my family were sitting around the dinner table a couple of nights ago, and we were also just having these questions for conversation. We would say, what would we do, if the house burned down and we had to run out, and what would we take with us?
Yeah.
So I actually, thought about it, but I don't think I would take it. I just would want to make sure that everybody got out okay. That's it. Everything else is replaceable.
No, it's so funny because I actually was talking to a retired firefighter out here in Colorado, and I was thinking, what would I take if the house burned down? I would take myself and my walker, and then deal with the rest of it. I wouldn't even take my medication that I'm on now.
Wow.
And so I would take it myself, my walker, and I would just deal with the rest of it later, because once you get the once you have that, so you're in a pinch, well, you would need your medications. And yes, I would take my medications, but to me, medications could be replaced, and a walker could too, but that would help me get out of the house. But you can't replace humans.
No. And anything else you can deal with, even something as important as medication, you could replace that quite quickly. Everything you can deal with. There is nothing that you couldn't leave behind, except for your loved ones. And that would be, I suppose, people and animals. We don't have pets.
People and animals, no. And so, that would be, I would take my walker and myself, and that would be it. And so if what is your morning routine?
So I have to say, I'm not a morning person, okay? So if I can have my cup of coffee, get dressed, and get out the door, or get into my office and do my work, I'm doing well for a
Yeah, you're
morning.
doing well for a
I'm
morning.
doing really, really well. If
Yeah.
I can get my coffee in before my first meeting, I am A for away.
It's always,
But
yes,
on a good morning, when I'm not in a rush, because really trying to get as much sleep in as possible, because I'm a night person, so I stay up really, really late. Now, I think an ideal morning routine, I would answer rather than the average morning routine. The ideal morning routine for me would be to actually be able to just get up and take my time with all the preparation,
yeah,
have my coffee in the garden, listen to some good meditation, do a bit of thinking, and then start my day. That would be
yeah.
ideal. I do that sometimes, but it definitely does not happen every
But
morning.
not happening. So, Daphne, as we wrap this interview up, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do. I'd love to ask you, what are 3 things that you are most proud of in your life?
That what are three things that I'm most proud of in my life? That I've survived all the stuff I've survived, and that's excluding my disability, mind you.
Okay.
I've survived getting emotionally and physically abused,
Wow.
and I've survived the devastating loss of both my parents. Um,
Sure.
my grief journey started in 2010. And whereupon I lost my mom and then my biological mom. And then I lost my dad only in May of 2019. Well, I say only, but May of 2019.
Wow.
And so those would be the thing I would be the most proud of, that I'm a strong and confident woman just because I've been emotionally and physically abused. And for those of you that don't know, my emotional and physical abuse didn't happen in the way we were all expecting it. My emotional and physical abuse happened in the well, not in the strangest way, but my emotional and physical abuse did not happen by my aide, nor my stepmom, nor my stepsister. Nope. Those 3 people were witnesses to my physical and emotional abuse, and more physical than emotional. Well, um, more emotional than physical, although it didn't get physical. But a lot of the people think because people with disabilities can easily get emotionally abused, physical abuse, sexual abuse, a lot of people think it's their care providers that do it. And no, it could be anyone. It could be anyone walking into a home. It could be, in my case, um, my abuser, well, my abusers with an S, one was a witness, one did the actual abuse, and my main abuser said to said in the long run to Adult Protective Services, I did nothing wrong. What did I do wrong? What was it? And what did I do? And I'm like, no, you did everything wrong. You made my witnesses scared half to death. And yeah,
Wow.
you, so me being a strong and confident woman based off of that, I think that's unbelievable. And yes, I
That is
have.
something to be proud of, for sure. And to be able to take a stand and face your abusers and be able to say, no, that was wrong and I will not stand for it. That is something really, really big, really big.
And no, and they know it, and I don't care if my family's listening to this podcast, and they know it. They know that what they did was extremely wrong, and they started abusing me emotionally. Both my abuser and her witness started abusing me immediately after my mom died. And actually, my abuser started abusing me while my mom was in the hospital dying. And then I was lucky enough to not have it for 9 years. And but then when she came out, they disguised a birthday party as a birthday party for me as a welfare check. And then when on June 23rd, that afternoon, they said, okay, when we'll take you downstairs to get dressed. I follow them downstairs. They literally close the door on me. They literally lock me in my room, and they start asking me all these questions and asking me about my stepmom, my stepsister, my aides. And you got to remember, this was 1 month after my dad died. So my last birthday present from them was, happy birthday to you. We'll abuse you and we'll never let you forget it.
Wow. Wow.
So, yeah.
So that's one brave woman.
One brave woman. And now I am, I stand up for domestic violence and physical and emotional abuse, especially when it comes to the disabled population, because I never want anyone to be in the position that I was put in back on June 23rd, 2019. And I luckily had 3 witnesses on all floors of my house. The closest witness to me was 15 feet away from me. And there's nothing that she could have, she, nor my stepsister, nor my stepmom could have done, because, well, they could have done, but they could have done something, but in the years of me learning about physical and emotional abuse, the abuser won't let the abusee go just to make a phone call, just to send text. They won't let the person they're abusing go to get help.
Yep, they shut them out of from the external world.
Yeah. And yeah.
Wow.
And so yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So what do you think it takes to be a great leader in these times that we're in right now?
Man, Daphne, you caught me off guard. After that one, what
I want to take you into a positive space now. Let's think
yeah,
about something a
yeah.
little bit more uplifting as we wrap up the episode.
Let's think. What do I think? Well, you can't say I can't. Being a great leader and the amount of Zooming and the amount of Google meetings and the amount of Skyping and the amount of phone calls where all of us are making, including myself, you can't say, look, my kids are in background. You have to tell your family, if possible, look, mommy's on a Zoom meeting. I can't be entertaining you guys. I need to lead this meeting. And so that makes a great leader when men or women could divide and say, look, you need to go hang out with daddy for a couple minutes while mommy's leading a Zoom conference. I mean, conquer and divide. That's how I would say make a great leader is conquer and divide and just do what you can. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be do what you can.
Fabulous. Fabulous. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So Daphne, where can people find you and where could people get a hold of you?
Awesome. So if they just visit my website, they can go to daphnahorowitz.com and yeah, that's sure, spell it out, or you'll put it in the podcast notes.
We'll put it in the show notes,
Yeah.
you guys.
And I also have my own podcast, which is called Leadership Live with Daphna Horowitz. So feel free to go and have a listen there.
Feel free, you guys. If you need a good leadership podcast, go listen to Daphne because because she knows how hard putting a podcast out every single week is.
Yes, I do know that. I do know that.
Please go support. And I appreciate you guys for listening and supporting me and all my guests. And we'll just see where it leads. And Daphna, thank you for coming on. And I hope that we can work together in the future.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show, and good luck.
Thank you.